Jinho pressed his small nose against the cold metal window and watched the purple sky of Drakkar Prime. The 8-year-old boy counted the strange moons that hung like glowing balls above their small settlement. 1, 2, 3 moons tonight. Yesterday there were 4. He never understood why the moons came and went on this strange planet. Jinho, come eat dinner, his sister Sora called from across their tiny living space. She was 16 now, almost grown up, and always worried about him like their mother used to before everything went wrong. The boy turned away from the window and walked to their small table. Their home was really just one room inside a larger building that housed 12 families. New Haven settlement was not big. Only 43 people lived here now. When they first came to Drakkar Prime, there were 68 people. The dangerous planet had taken many away. Sora placed a bowl of warm soup in front of him. The soup was thin and had only a few pieces of dried meat floating in it. Food was hard to find now. The supply ships from Earth had stopped coming 6 months ago when the big earthquakes broke their communication tower and destroyed their landing pad. "Where is Papa?" Jinho asked as he picked up his spoon. "He is still working on the radio with Mama," Sora said. "They think they can fix it today." Jinho nodded and ate his soup slowly. He wanted to make it last longer because he was always hungry. Now, everyone in New Haven was always hungry. The grown-ups tried to hide it, but Jinho was smart. He saw how they gave the children more food and ate less themselves. Their father Hyun was the best engineer in the settlement. Their mother Mina was good with electronics. Together they worked every day to fix their long-range radio. If they could fix it, they could call for help from Earth. If they could not fix it, they would be stuck on Drakkar Prime forever. Through the thin walls, Jinho could hear other families talking. The Kims in the next room were arguing about food again. Mrs. Park was crying because her husband got hurt in the mine yesterday. The voices were always sad now. "Sora," Jinho said quietly, "are we going to die here?" His sister stopped eating and looked at him with big tired eyes. She was trying to be brave, but Jinho could see she was scared too. "No, little brother. Papa and the Ma will fix the radio. Help will come." Jinho wanted to believe her. He really did, but he had heard the grown-ups talking when they thought he was sleeping. The radio parts were old and broken. The earthquakes had damaged too many things. Even if they fixed the radio, Earth was very far away. It would take years for help to come. Outside their window, Jinho heard the sound he hated most. It was the deep growling noise that came from the dark forests around their settlement. The planet's animals made that sound. They were big and dangerous, and they were always hungry too. "The fence will keep them out," Sora said quickly when she saw his scared face. Uncle Kyung made it very strong. Kyung was not really their uncle, but all the children called him that. He was the settlement's security chief. He had been a soldier on Earth before coming to Drakkar Prime. Now he spent his days fixing their electric fence and teaching the older kids how to use the few weapons they had left. After dinner, Jinho helped Sora clean their dishes. The water was brown and tasted bad, but it was all they had. The water cleaning machine was broken too, just like everything else in New Haven. "Can I visit the workshop?" Jinho asked. Sora thought about it. "Okay, but only for a little while. And stay close to me." They walked through the settlement's main hallway. The lights were dimmed to save power. Most of the families were in their rooms now, getting ready for sleep. Some of the men sat around a small table, playing cards and talking in quiet voices about tomorrow's work in the mine. The mine was why they had come to Drakkar Prime. The planet had special crystals that Earth needed for their spaceships. The crystals were deep underground, and getting them out was hard work. Every day the men went down into the dark tunnels to dig. It was dangerous work, but the crystals were worth a lot of money. Jinho and Sora reached the workshop where their parents worked. Through the open door they could see Hyun bent over a table covered with broken radio parts. Mina sat next to him, holding a small light while he tried to connect tiny wires. "Any luck today?" Sora asked. Hyun looked up and smiled. But his smile was tired. "We are getting close. Maybe tomorrow we will have good news." Mina reached out and hugged both children. How was your day, my little ones? Good, Mama, Jinho said. He did not tell her about counting the moons or thinking about death. He did not want to make her more worried. Jinho helped me sort the food supplies today, Sora said. He is getting very good at organizing. Their mother smiled for real this time. That is wonderful. We need everyone to help however they can. As they talked, Jinho heard a new sound from outside. It was different from the usual animal growls. This sound was deeper, like rocks falling down a mountain. It made the walls shake a little bit. The four family members looked at each other with worry. Strange sounds meant danger on Drakkar Prime. Probably just another earthquake, Hyan said. But his voice did not sound sure. Outside, the deep rumbling sound came again. This time it lasted longer and seemed to come from all around their settlement. In the distance, Jinho could hear Uncle Kyung's voice shouting orders to the guards. Something big was moving in the darkness beyond their fence. Something very big. Jinho moved closer to the window, but Sora quickly pulled him back. Stay away from there, she whispered, the rumbling. Sound faded away, leaving behind a silence that felt even more frightening. Everyone in New Haven knew that quiet nights on Drakkar Prime usually came before very bad days. Jinho did not know it yet, but his family's mining operation had done something terrible. For months, their digging machines had been breaking through old, forgotten tunnels deep underground. They had disturbed something that had been sleeping for a very long time. In the dark forests around New Haven, ancient eyes were opening. Something was waking up, and it was not happy about being disturbed. Sora woke up before the sun came up. She had to go on patrol around the settlement today. Uncle Kyung always sent the older kids to scout the area and look for dangerous animals or broken parts of the fence. It was scary work, but someone had to do it. She put on her boots quietly so she would not wake up Jinho. Her little brother was still sleeping on his small bed, holding his old tablet close to his chest. The tablet had stories from Earth on it. Even though the battery was almost dead, Jinho still read the stories every night before bed. Sora picked up her radio and backpack and walked to the main gate. Uncle Kyung was already there, checking his weapon and talking to Seok, the chief engineer. Seok looked worried about something. Good morning, Uncle Kyung, Sora said. Where should I patrol today? Kyung looked at her with serious eyes. Be very careful today, Sora. We heard strange sounds all night. Something big is moving around out there. Bigger than the usual animals? She asked. Much bigger, Seok said. The ground sensors are showing things we have never seen before. Heavy footsteps, but not like any animal we know. Sora nodded and walked through the gate. The morning air was cold and smelled like metal. The purple sky was getting lighter, but the 3 moons were still visible. She started walking around the outside of the fence, looking for any signs of danger. After walking for 10 minutes, Sora found something that made her heart stop beating. In the soft dirt near the fence there was a footprint, but it was not from any animal she had ever seen. The footprint was huge, bigger than a grown man lying down. It had long claw marks that went deep into the ground. She took out her radio with shaking hands. Uncle Kyung, you need to come see this. What did you find? His voice came through the radio. A footprint. It is really, really big. Stay where you are, I'm coming. Sora looked around nervously while she waited. The trees around the settlement were tall and thick. Anything could be hiding in there. She saw more footprints now that she was looking carefully. They made a path around the settlement, like something had been walking in circles around their fence all night. Kyung arrived with 2 other men. When they saw the footprints, their faces turned white with fear. These are not from any animal on Drakkar Prime, said one of the men. Look at the size of these claws. Kyung knelt down and put his hand next to one of the claw marks. His whole hand was smaller than just one claw mark. We need to search the whole area. Everyone stay together. As they walked around the settlement, they found more scary things. There were burn marks on some trees, like someone had breathed fire on them. The metal parts of their fence were melted in some places. Strange marks in the ground showed where something very heavy had been sitting or lying down. Whatever made these marks is still around here somewhere, Kyung said quietly. We need to get back inside and warn everyone. When they returned to the settlement, Kyung called a meeting. All 43 people gathered in the main hall. Children sat with their parents and everyone looked scared. We have a problem, Kyung began. There are large creatures around our settlement. We do not know what they are, but they are much bigger and more dangerous than anything we have seen before. Mrs. Park raised her hand. How big are we talking? About? Their footprints are longer than a grown person, Sora said, and they can breathe fire. The room filled with worried voices. People started talking all at once, asking questions and making scared sounds. What do we do? Asked Mr. Kim. First, nobody goes outside the fence alone, Kyung said. Second, we set up watches during the night. We need to know if these creatures come back. That night, Jin-ho could not sleep. He heard the grown-ups talking, in worried voices outside his room. He got up quietly and looked out the window. At first, he saw nothing but darkness and trees. Then he saw them, eyes, big, glowing eyes in the forest. They were yellow and orange like fire, and they were huge. Jin-ho counted them carefully. 2 eyes here, 2 eyes there, 2 more eyes over there. 7 pairs of eyes total. 14 eyes watching their settlement. Sora, he whispered, shaking his sister awake, look outside. Sora sat up and looked out the window. When she saw the glowing eyes, she gasped, "Oh no, oh no, oh no." She grabbed her radio and called Uncle Kyung. They are here, the creatures are here, I can see their eyes. Within minutes, everyone in the settlement was awake. People looked out their windows and saw the same terrifying sight. 14 huge eyes staring at them from the darkness. Nobody panic, Kyung's voice came over the loudspeakers. Stay inside your rooms. Do not go near the windows. But it was hard not to panic. The eyes were so big and so bright. They did not blink. They just stared and stared at the settlement like they were studying everything inside the fence. What are they waiting for? Sora whispered God as the night went on. The creatures began to move. The eyes changed position, moving around the settlement in a slow circle. Sometimes they came closer to the fence. Sometimes they moved back into the trees. But they never left. When morning came, the eyes disappeared. But everyone knew the creatures were still there, hiding in the forest and waiting. Uncle Kyung called another meeting. His face looked older than yesterday. I have bad news, he said. I contacted other settlements on the planet using our short-range radio. They told me what these creatures are. Everyone waited quietly for him to continue. They are called Vorthok. They are the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. Other planets have sent warnings about them across space. When Vorthok surround a settlement, it means... He stopped talking and looked down. It means what? Someone asked. It means everyone dies? No settlement has ever survived when the Vorthok come. They play with their food before they eat it. They watch and wait, and then they attack. The room became very quiet. Some people started crying. Others just sat in shock, but Jin-ho was not scared. He was curious. The creatures had such beautiful, bright eyes. And they seemed smart, the way they moved and watched everything. He wondered what they were thinking about. How long do we have? His father Hyan asked. According to the reports, they usually wait 3 to 7 days before attacking, Kyung answered. But they have never failed to destroy everything they surround. Jin-ho raised his small hand. Uncle Kyung, have people ever tried talking to them? Kyung looked surprised by the question. Talking to them? Jin-ho? These are monsters. They do not talk, they only kill. But Jin-ho was not sure about that. Something about those bright eyes seemed different to him. They did not look like monster eyes. They looked like the eyes of someone who was very, very tired. 3 days passed since the Vorthok dragons surrounded New Haven. Every night, the huge glowing eyes watched the settlement. Every morning, the people woke up still alive but more scared than the day before. Jin-ho spent his time watching the creatures from his window. He noticed things that the grown-ups did not see. The dragons moved restlessly, like they could not find a comfortable place to sit. Sometimes they made low rumbling sounds that did not sound angry, They sounded sad. They look tired, Jinho told Sora one morning. They look like monsters, Sora said back. Do not think about them too much, it will make you more scared. But Jinho was not scared, he was curious. When the other kids played inside and tried not to think about the dragons, Jinho watched them carefully. He saw how they turned their great heads to look at different parts of the settlement. He saw how they moved closer sometimes, then moved back, like they wanted something but could not figure out what it was. On the third night, Uncle Kyung gathered everyone for another meeting. I fixed the short-range radio today, he said. I called for help from the other settlements, but they cannot come. The Vorthek are too dangerous. If anyone tries to help us, the dragons will just kill them too. So we are completely alone? Asked Mrs. Park. Yes, Kyung said quietly. We are alone. People began crying again. Some families held each other tight. Jinho's parents hugged him and Sora, but Jinho could feel how scared they were. That night, Jinho could not sleep at all. He kept thinking about the tired eyes of the dragons. He got up and looked out the window again. The 14 eyes were there, glowing in the darkness. But tonight, something was different. One pair of eyes was much closer than the others. The dragon had moved almost all the way to the fence. Its huge head was lowered, and it seemed to be looking directly at Jinho's window. Jinho stared back at the creature. For a long time, neither of them moved. Then, very slowly, the dragon blinked its huge eyes. It reminded Jinho of how his grandmother used to blink when she was very, very sleepy. An idea formed in Jinho's mind. It was probably a crazy idea. It was definitely a dangerous idea. But it was the only idea he had. He picked up his tablet from beside his bed. The battery was almost dead, but it still had enough power to work for a little while. On the tablet were all his favorite stories from Earth. Stories about brave knights and talking animals and magical kingdoms. Every night before the dragons came, Jinho's grandmother used to read him bedtime stories. She said that stories help people sleep better and have good dreams. Maybe, just maybe, the dragons needed bedtime stories too. Jinho put on his shoes and jacket as quietly as possible. Sora was sleeping deeply, tired from 3 days of worry. He opened their door very carefully and walked through the quiet hallways of the settlement. The front gate had 2 guards, but they were both looking out at the forest, watching for danger. They did not see one small boy walking in the shadows behind them. Jinho found a small gap in the fence where the metal had been bent during the earthquakes. It was just big enough for him to squeeze through. He took a deep breath and crawled. Outside the settlement, the night air was cold and smelled like flowers and smoke. Jinho stood up and walked slowly toward the closest dragon. Each step felt like the longest step he had ever taken. His heart was beating so fast he could hear it in his ears. The dragon was even bigger up close than he had imagined. It was as tall as 3 houses stacked on top of each other. Its scales were dark blue and purple, and they seemed to glow with their own light. When it breathed, small puffs of steam came from its nose. The dragon lowered its enormous head and looked down at Jinho. The boy was so small next to the creature that he probably looked like a tiny bug. The dragon could have eaten him in one bite or burned him with one breath. Instead, it just stared at him with those big, tired eyes. Jinho sat down on the ground in front of the dragon. He turned on his tablet and found his favorite story. The screen was cracked and dim, but it still worked. Hello, Jinho said in his small, clear voice. You look very tired. Would you like to hear a story? The dragon did not answer, of course, but it did not attack either. It lowered its head even more until it was resting on the ground just a few steps away from Jinho. Jinho opened the first story on his tablet and began to read out loud. Once upon a time, there was a little prince who lived on a very small planet. The planet was so small that he could walk all the way around it in just a few minutes. As Jinho read, something amazing happened. The dragon's breathing became slower and deeper. Its huge eyes began to close just a little bit. Other dragons in the forest began moving closer, drawn by the sound of Jinho's voice. Back in the settlement, Sora woke up and found Jinho's bed empty. She looked out the window and saw something impossible. Her little brother was sitting in front of a massive dragon. reading from his tablet like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Mama! Papa!" she whispered urgently, shaking her parents. "Awake, come look at this." Soon everyone in the settlement was watching from their windows. They could not believe what they were seeing. The most dangerous creatures in the galaxy were gathered around one small human boy, listening to him read. Bedtime stories. And for the first time in 3 days, the dragons looked peaceful. Jinho read for 2 hours that first night. His voice grew tired and his tablet battery grew weaker, but he kept going. The dragons moved closer and closer, forming a circle around him. 7 massive creatures, each one capable of destroying entire cities, sat quietly and listened to stories about little princes and talking foxes. When Jinho finally finished reading, the largest dragon made a sound he had never heard before. It was like a cat purring, but 1,000 times deeper. The sound was so low that it made the ground shake gently. "I think you liked that story," Jinho said to the dragon. "I will come back tomorrow night and read more." The dragon blinked slowly, and Jinho thought it almost looked like a nod. He walked back to the settlement fence, where Uncle Kyung was waiting with his mouth open in shock. "Jinho, what did you just do?" Kyung asked. "I read them a bedtime story," Jinho said simply. "They seemed tired." The next morning, everything was different. The dragons were still surrounding the settlement, but they were not moving restlessly anymore. They had settled down in comfortable positions and seemed to be resting. For the first time since they arrived, the creatures looked calm. "This is impossible," Seok said during the morning meeting. "The reports from other planets say that Vorthak never act like this. They are supposed to be mindless killers." "Maybe the reports are wrong," Junho said. "Maybe nobody ever tried being nice to them before?" That night, Jinho went out again. This time, his parents and Sora came with him. They were scared, but they wanted to see the miracle with their own eyes. The dragons were waiting for him. As soon as they saw Junho approaching, they all turned their great heads toward him. The largest dragon, the one Jinho had read to first, made the same deep purring sound. "Good evening," Jinho said politely. "Are you ready for tonight's story?" He opened his tablet and began reading a story about a brave knight who befriended a dragon instead of fighting it. As he read, he noticed something new. The dragon's eyes began to glow brighter, but not with anger or hunger. They glowed with something that looked like happiness. Sora watched her little brother with amazement. "How did you know this would work?" she whispered. "Grandmother always said that everyone likes bedtime stories," Jinho whispered back. "Even monsters." As the nights passed, Jinho continued his story times. He read stories about space adventures and talking animals and magical kingdoms. Each night, the dragons seemed more relaxed and more peaceful, but the most amazing thing happened. On the 7th night, as Jinho was reading a story about a lonely robot who just wanted a friend, the largest dragon did something incredible. It began to speak. The voice was not like a human voice. It was deep and rumbling like rocks falling down a mountain. But the words were clear. "Little teller, da." The dragon said slowly, "We understand your words." Everyone from the settlement who had come to watch gasped in shock. "Dragons could talk? You can understand me?" Jinho asked excitedly. "We understand languages," the dragon said. "Our minds can touch other minds and learn quickly." "What is your name?" Jinho asked. "I am Thelvas," the dragon replied. "I am Deadliest of this clutch." Jinho smiled. "Hello, Thelvas." "My name is Jinho. These are my friends and family." "Hello, Jinho," Thelva said. The other dragons made soft rumbling sounds that might have been their way of saying hello too. "Can I ask you something?" Jinho said. "Why did you come to our settlement?" Thelvas was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded very sad. "We came because of the digging. Your people have broken our sleeping places deep underground. We came to make you stop digging." "But you did not attack us," Sora said, finding her courage to speak. We're going to, Thelvis admitted. But then the little one came to us with stories. Stories are new to us. Stories make the pain. Go away. What pain? Jinho asked with concern. The pain? Of never sleeping, Thelvis said. For many, many years. We have not been able to rest. We are always tired. Always angry, always hurting. But your stories, they quiet and they let us dromos dream. Jinho felt very sad for the dragons. He could not imagine how terrible it would be to never sleep. Would you like me to read more stories? He asked. Yes, Thelvis said, and all the other dragons made agreeing sounds. Please read us more stories. From that night on, Jinho read to the dragons every evening. The people of New Haven were no longer afraid. Instead, they were amazed. They had discovered something that no one else in the galaxy knew. The terrible Vorthok dragons were not monsters at all. They were just very tired creatures who needed help finding peace. As weeks passed, Jinho learned more about the dragons. Each of the 7 had a name. Felvas was the eldest, then there was Morgeth, Zithara, Valthus, Nixandra, Drokter, and Ithilin. They were all very old, some of them thousands of years. Old through their slow, careful conversations, Jinho discovered the truth about the Vorthok. They had not always been the feared destroyers that the galaxy knew them as. Long ago, Thelvis explained one night, my people were builders and dreamers. We made beautiful cities and told stories and created art. We were peaceful. What happened? Jinho asked. A curse, said Zithara, the smallest of the 7 dragons. Her voice was lighter than Thelvis's, but still very sad. Many thousands of years ago, dark planet was attacked by dark creatures from the void. Before we defeated them, they cursed us with eternal darkfulness. You mean you cannot sleep at all? Sora asked. We have not truly slept in 3,000 years, Morgeth said. At first, we tried to fight the curse, but as the years passed, we grew more and more tired, we became angry and desperate. Drokter, who had the deepest voice of all, continued the story. We began searching the galaxy for a cure. We visited many worlds asked many wise beings for help, but nothing worked. The tiredness made us go mad, Valthus added. We would arrive at a planet desperate for help, but our exhaustion made us aggressive and frightening. People would attack us out of fear, so we would fight back, Nixandra said quietly. And fighting destruction soon. The galaxy we were monsters who destroyed for fun. But we only wanted to sleep. Jinho felt very sorry for the dragons. He could not imagine being tired for thousands of years. No wonder they seemed so sad and angry. But your stories, Thelvis said, looking down at Jinho with grateful eyes. Your stories the first thing in all these years that has given us any peace. When you read, our minds become quiet. The constant buzzing of tiredness goes away. Why do stories help when nothing else did? Jinho wondered. Ithilin, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Your stories remind us of who we used to be before the curse we told stories to our young just like you tell stories to us. And Thelvis added, there is something special about your kind. Humans have a gift for imagination and storytelling that we have not found in any other species. The next day, Jinho had an idea. He talked to his parents and Uncle Kyung about it. What if we help them find a real cure for their curse? He suggested. They have been searching for thousands of years, but maybe fresh minds can think of something new. That is very kind, Jinho, his father Hyan said. But if the smartest beings in the galaxy could not help them, what can we do? Maybe we can. Ask them to help us fix our radio, Junho said. If we can contact Earth, maybe the scientists there will have ideas. It was worth trying. That evening, Jinho asked Thelvas if the dragons could help repair their communication equipment. We are very good. With technology, Thelvas said, we have learned much in our travels across a galaxy. The next morning, 3 of the dragons carefully approached the settlement. The people were nervous at first, seeing the massive creatures up close during the day, but the dragons moved very slowly and gently, being careful not to damage anything. Seok showed them the broken radio equipment. The dragons studied it for only a few minutes before Mordred began making repairs. Her claws were surprisingly delicate for their size, and she fixed complex problems that the humans had been struggling with for months. Within one day, the radio was working perfectly. This is New Haven calling Earth, Hyan spoke into the microphone. Please respond. We have an emergency situation, but also an amazing discovery. It took several hours for the signal to reach Earth, but finally a response came back. New Haven, this is Earth Command. We have been trying to reach you for months. What is your situation? Hyan explained everything, the stranded settlement, the Vorthek dragons, and Jinho's incredible success in communicating with them. At first, the people on Earth did not believe the story. But when Thelva spoke directly into the radio, saying hello ... ARTH humans, they realized it was true. This is the greatest discovery in galactic history, the voice from Earth sighed. We are sending our best scientists and diplomats immediately. Do not let those dragons leave. They are not going anywhere, Jinho said into the radio. They like our bedtime stories too much? The dragons made their purring sounds, which everyone now knew meant they were happy. The rescue ships from Earth arrived 3 months later. They brought scientists, doctors, diplomats, and enough supplies to keep New Haven running for years. But most importantly, they brought hope. Dr. Elena Vasquez was the lead scientist on the mission. She had studied alien biology for 30 years, but she had never seen anything like the Vorthek dragons. The curse is not magical, she explained to everyone after studying the dragons for several weeks. It is biological. The creatures that attacked their planet long ago infected them with a parasite that affects their sleep centers. Can you cure it? Jinho asked hopefully. I think so, Dr. Vasquez said. But it will take time. We need to develop a treatment that works with their unique biology. While the scientists worked on a cure, life in New Haven changed completely. The dragons helped the humans in many ways. They used their fire breath to power generators. They helped dig new mines that were safer and more efficient. They even helped build new buildings with their incredible strength. But every evening, no matter how busy the day had been, Jinho would sit with the dragons and read them stories. It had become the most important part of everyone's day. Not just for the dragons, but for the humans too. Your stories bring us together, Thelvas told Jinho one night. Humans and Vorthek, we are not so different after all. Other settlements on Drakkar Prime heard about the amazing friendship between humans and dragons. Soon, representatives from across the galaxy came to see this impossible alliance. The Galactic Council, which had been afraid of the Vorthek for millennia, sent ambassadors to establish peaceful contact. For the first time in galactic history, the Vorthek had friends instead of enemies. Jinho became famous across the galaxy as the boy who tamed dragons with bedtime stories. But he did not think of it that way. I did not tame them, he told the reporters who came to interview him. I just treated them like friends. Everyone deserves to have friends. 6 months after the dragons first arrived, Dr. Vasquez made the announcement everyone had been waiting for. We have developed a treatment, she said excitedly. It should cure the sleep curse permanently. The treatment took several weeks to complete. Each dragon had to receive special medicine and undergo therapy to retrain their brains how to sleep. Jinho read them extra stories during this time to help keep them calm during the difficult process. Finally, the day came when Thelvis was ready to try sleeping for the first time in 3,000 years. I am ... afraid, the great dragon admitted. What if I forget ... how to dream? Dreams come naturally, Jinho said gently. Just like breathing, your body remembers how to do it. That night, Thelvis closed his enormous eyes and went to sleep. He slept for 3 days straight. When he woke up, he looked completely different. His scales were brighter, his eyes were clearer, and for the first time since Jinho had known him, he looked truly peaceful. I dreamed, Thelvis said with wonder in his voice. I dreamed of ... flying through ... star fields, and building ... crystal cities ... and telling stories to dragon children who listened ... with wide eyes ... just like you. Listen to me. One by one, all 7 dragons received the treatment and learned to sleep again. The galaxy's most feared creatures became its most grateful allies. Years later, when Jinho was grown up, he became the first human ambassador to the Vorthic Collective. The dragons had shared their advanced technology with humanity, leading to incredible advances in medicine, engineering, and space travel. But Jinho never forgot the lesson he learned as a small boy on Drakkar Prime. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is not with weapons or threats, but with kindness and understanding. And every year, on the anniversary of that first night, when he read stories to 7 tired dragons, Jinho would gather with his old friends and read them bedtime stories, just like in the old days. Because some traditions are too precious to ever give up, the galaxy was a safer, kinder place because one small boy decided to share his favorite stories with creatures that everyone else feared. And the dragons, who had spent thousands of years being lonely and tired, finally had the 2 things they had always wanted: peaceful sleep and true friends. It was, as Jinho often said, the best bedtime story ending ever.